You think everyone noticed your mistake. The awkward thing you said in the meeting, the stain on your shirt, the weird laugh that came out wrong. Psychology says they barely noticed you at all, and that single fact, once you really understand it, can set you free. There's a name for this in psychology. It's called the spotlight effect. It's the deeply human, completely irrational feeling that there's an invisible spotlight following you around, lighting up every flaw, every stumble, every embarrassing moment, for the entire world to see. The problem is that spotlight only exists inside your own head. Nobody else can see it. And once you understand why your brain creates it, you can finally start ignoring it. In 2000, a Cornell psychologist named Thomas Gilovich ran one of the most quietly liberating experiments in modern psychology. He took college students and made them wear a t-shirt. Not a normal t-shirt, a t-shirt with a giant picture of Barry Manilow on the front. For most college students, this was peak humiliation. Imagine walking into a room of strangers wearing the most embarrassing shirt you can think of, and being told to just sit there. After the experience, Gilovich asked the students one simple question. How many people in that room do you think noticed your shirt? On average, the students guessed about 50%. Half the room, they were sure, had clocked the Barry Manilow shirt and silently judged them for it. Then Gilovich went and asked the actual people in the room. The real number wasn't 50%, it was around 25%. The students had overestimated how much they were being noticed by a factor of 2. They had literally doubled the size of their own spotlight. Think about what that means for a second. Even when these students were wearing the most attention-grabbing, embarrassing thing they could possibly wear, 3 out of 4 people in the room didn't even register it. And remember, this is a controlled lab setting where people had nothing else to do but look around. In real life, in a coffee shop, in an office, on a sidewalk, people have even less attention to spare for you. They're thinking about their own problems, their own meetings, their own embarrassing moments from 3 years ago that nobody else remembers either. Gilovich didn't stop there. He ran the experiment again with different shirts. Shirts the students liked. Shirts with positive figures on them. Same result. Students wildly overestimated how much anyone was paying attention. He ran versions where students contributed to group discussions and then guessed how much their answers stood out. Same result. He even tested it with embarrassing moments, asking people to remember a time they'd tripped, spilled, or said something dumb, then estimate how vividly others remembered it. Same result every time. People consistently believe they are being observed about twice as much as they actually are. So why does your brain do this to you? Why does it invent a spotlight that isn't there? The answer is something psychologists call the anchoring and adjustment heuristic. Your brain starts with what you know best, which is your own experience. From inside your head, your mistake feels enormous, vivid, impossible to miss. So your brain takes that vivid feeling and uses it as the starting point for guessing what other people see. Then it tries to adjust downward, because logically you know others can't feel it as strongly as you do. But the adjustment is never enough. You always end up overestimating, because you literally cannot escape the gravity of your own perspective. There's another piece to this. Psychologists call it the illusion of transparency. It's the sister effect to the spotlight. You don't just think people see your mistakes more than they do. You also think they can see your feelings more than they can. When you're nervous giving a presentation, you feel like your anxiety is broadcast on a giant screen behind you. When you're attracted to someone, you feel like it's painted on your face. When you're annoyed in a meeting, you feel like everyone can read your mind. They can't. Studies show that observers pick up only a fraction of what we think we're showing. Your poker face is way better than you give it credit for. Now here's where this gets practical. Once you actually internalize the math, your life can change. Think about the last embarrassing moment you replayed in your head. Maybe you stumbled over a word in a presentation. Maybe you waved at someone who wasn't waving at you. Maybe you sent a text that came out weird. You've probably replayed that moment 50 times. The other person involved? They might have noticed it for 2 seconds and then immediately moved on to thinking about lunch. You are spending 50 hours of mental energy on something they spent 2 seconds on. That's not just unfair, it's a terrible exchange rate. Try this thought experiment. Right now, can you remember a specific embarrassing thing a stranger did in front of you last month? Probably not. Can you remember a specific embarrassing thing a coworker did last week? Maybe one. Can you remember an embarrassing thing you did last week? You probably have a whole list. That asymmetry is the spotlight effect in action. You are the main character of your own life, but you're a background extra in everyone else's. And so is everyone else. They are the main character of their lives, watching their own internal movie, barely noticing yours. So what do you actually do with this? Start small. The next time you hesitate to speak up in a meeting because you're worried about sounding dumb, remember the Manilow shirt. Even when researchers literally made students walk in wearing the dumbest possible thing, 3 out of 4 people didn't notice. The next time you skip the gym because you don't want to be seen as a beginner, remember nobody is watching you. They're watching themselves in the mirror, worrying that you're watching them. The next time you don't ask a question because you think it sounds stupid, remember that the people around you are too busy hoping nobody asks them a question. Wearing a new outfit you're not sure about, going to a party where you don't know anyone, posting something online that feels risky, raising your hand, asking someone out, starting a conversation with a stranger, going dancing, singing karaoke, learning something in public. All of these things feel like they happen under a spotlight. None of them actually do. The audience you're terrified of mostly doesn't exist. The few people who do notice will think about it for a second and then forget completely by tomorrow. This is the real gift of the spotlight effect. Not the discovery that nobody cares, which sounds bleak, but the discovery that nobody is judging. The mental prison you've built out of imaginary observers has no walls. You can walk out of it anytime you want. So pick one thing this week that the imaginary spotlight has been stopping you from doing. And just do it. Because the spotlight was never on, and the freedom that gives you is real.